it is Daryl.
We're the Bakers.
Yes.
And today on this installment, we really felt it was important to talk about the roles of a wife and the roles of a
husband.
Yes, because that all kind of ties into when you're talking about how do you properly support your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we wanted to jump right in with roles. Okay.
Yes.
So one of the things I want to say is we know, well, maybe you don't know, but one of our jobs from a woman's perspective as a wife is to support our husband by praying for them on a daily basis, speaking life and positive words over them, and speaking into their future. That's a good way to support him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being, as it talks about that, help me, depending on the version that you read, the scripture talks about that. But I want to read from the Message, the scripture that we pulled up. And this is Ephesians 5:22. I think I'm reading 22, but it's the Message. So it talks about wives, understand and support your husbands in ways that show your support for Christ. Wives, understand and support your husbands in ways that show your support for Christ. So our job is to uphold, to be that support system, because as a wife, if a husband cannot or he does not feel comfortable coming home and talking and feeling he can share his heart, where else is he supposed to do that? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the roles we have as wives, and the way we can support them and undergird them by being that ear. And I know women, we can talk, all right? So yes, we may have challenges sometimes in listening. Preach.
Oh yeah.
Look at him. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But we know that there are times when we can talk, and then there are times when our husband needs to talk and share. And so I think it's very important when you're talking about enriching your marriage that you understand what is your role, your responsibility, your duties. When you took this covenant, it wasn't just about, oh, now I got somebody. Mm-hmm. Oh, now I got somebody I can just talk their ear off. No, it's about being, that support. It's not all about the lovey-dovey. That's important. But it's also about just commonality, being, human with each other. What do you think about that?
Yeah. You have to be human with each other, and then you have to have a way of really supporting each other. So the wives are to support their husbands, and the husbands are to support the wives as well, right? So we have a tremendous responsibility as well. And many times I think that the husband's responsibility seems to be, far greater than the wives. But I believe that each one of our responsibilities are significant, and those roles are distinctively different. Okay.
Distinctively, he said distinctively. Yes, they are.
Yes, and they are different, right? Because of the fact that God gave man the commandment, so to speak, to love his wife, just as Christ has loved the church.
And I think that's the scripture you were going to read.
Yeah, and this is
in the Message.
In the Message Bible, Message version, and it's still in Ephesians 5:23, and it says, the husband provides leadership to his wife the way Christ does his church, not by domineering, but by cherishing. Just as the church submits to Christ as he exercises such leadership, wives should likewise submit to their husband. But it goes on and it says this, and I like this, and it says, husbands, go all out in your love for your wives, especially as Christ did for the church, and love marked by giving, not getting. You see, love is an action word, and this is all about giving. So Jesus, he gave his life that we may have life, right? He gave his life for the church, that the church may be born, that the church may be resurrected, that the church may be delivered, that the church may come into the knowledge of truth, but also that the church may experience the true love of God.
So, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So when it talks about, because I hear this in different circles, when it talks about a wife submitting to a husband, does that mean control? What does that submission mean? If we're talking about supporting each other in our roles, what does it mean?
Submission basically meaning that you're submitting to the love, the the authority that God has given, but submitting to the true love, the essence of the love of the husband. Just as Christ, he loved the church, right? He loved his people. He redeemed us out of the hand of darkness, out of the powers of darkness by giving himself. And so him giving himself allows us to submit to his authority because he have already paved the way. So submission is not domineering, it's not controlling, it's not manipulating. It's really submitting to the love that has been exemplified, that has been exercised by that husband. And so if a wife have problems submitting, then maybe, we need to take a look at the love inventory. If the love inventory, is lacking, and then there needs to be a deposit to take place in order for her to draw from.
So what are you saying? You're saying if a woman has a problem with submitting to her husband, listen, women, you're saying that there may be something wrong with the love exchange between the husband and the wife?
Absolutely. Right. Because women are moved by what they hear and what they and what you're demonstrating, right? Men are moved by what we see, okay? And if we see that you're moving in the direction that speaks respect unto us.
Respect, that's the word.
Listen, we are all in, okay? All right? And so just like yourself, for instance, you move in, by love, the love that I demonstrate to you.
For sure.
And the way that I care about you, and the way that I, just allow you to be who you are, and not try not try to make you something that I want you to be.
That's good.
But it's all about what God has made you it to be, and also we growing, together, and you have your giftings, you have your strengths, I have my strengths. We both have different things that we need to manage in our own personal lives, okay? Different areas that we need to manage.
Yeah,
okay, so
that's true.
And then we exert the areas of strength.
I think that's good. I mean, respect. I want to go back to that word respect. That's another one of our roles, ladies, respecting our spouses, whether they're in front of our faces or even when they're not with us. You always need to respect and honor your husband, because that makes the world of a difference. Even when you may disagree about something, this is one of the things I can say, never ever do this, okay? Whereas if you have a challenge with your spouse and then you're out in public and you disrespect him, say negative words about him in front of a bunch of people, that is totally disrespect. And that's not a role of a real wife. A real wife, a godly wife, wants to honor her spouse. And I'm not saying everything is not always golden and coming up roses. That's beside the point, because in covenant we still have to respect him as the leader, right? And as we do that, then he talked about that love bank. Then he's willingly wanting to deposit love into our banks. They used to use that term years ago, but it just simply means that as we respect him, men will go out of their way, like the scripture he read in Ephesians 5, the Message version. I think it literally said that they would go out of their way to honor their wives, to respect their wives. So it's all about giving and taking when you're talking about roles. Not just the domestic part, where there's sometimes, the old system was women stay home and then men work. But we know that has long since dissipated. It's like both people are typically working, so then you have to share the duties of the household, whatever the case may be. As long as there's respect from a wife to a husband, right? And then the husband is honoring his wife, then it all kind of works together. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes a wholeness. It makes a demonstration for the exchange of love, a demonstration of exchange for support, because you're supporting each other, we're supporting each other, and we don't necessarily agree with everything that each one of us say, but nevertheless, in our disagreement, there's still yet an element of agreement, because we can agree to disagree. I disagree with that, but nevertheless, I still yet respect your views and your opinion, because you're absolutely entitled to them. I mean, I don't ever want to make you feel as though that you have to do it my way, and and if you don't do it my way, then hit the highway. That is not
right.
that's not our approach at all.
And it has to do with maturity level, right? Because that's why marriage is not for children. Okay, let me say it again. Marriage is not for children, because when you think about natural children, they are still growing. Scientifically, girls mature at a younger rate sometimes than men, but they don't mature until they're in their 20s, right? So children should not be engaged in marriage. I'm using that loosely as an example. So when you're thinking about marriage, understand that it's serious, and understand that it's a sacrifice. Let's say, can we say sacrifice? And you have to be selfless, not selfish. If you're a selfish person, you somebody you want to get married, you better really bring that in now. You better really submit that and say, okay, I have to change my way of thinking, because if you don't deal with it before marriage, it's going to definitely carry over into marriage, and then it's going to constantly be this contention, because when you're selfish, everything has to be about you.
Yeah.
And that's not a role of a wife or a husband.
Yeah. But there's an element of selfishness about each and every one of us, because of the fact that we have grown up to be selfish. We've been taught that way throughout school systems. And so we have to learn how to die to ourselves, and also learn how to be given to one another. And I think that comes with maturity, but it also comes with your demonstration of really expressing your love for someone else. When you're expressing your love for someone else, it's not about you, because now you're not necessarily focused on yourself, but you're focusing on the person, the spouse, your husband, your wife, right? And so, love is an action word, and love will have you doing things that you wouldn't even think you would consider doing. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about an example.
Which one is that? About the TV?
No, I was thinking about one day. I wasn't trying to plant a seed or a thought. I was simply saying, man, it would be nice to have some fish, some salmon. This was one evening. I'm just giving an example. And before I knew it, guess what this guy did? He went and actually bought some and cooked it. Now I was just talking out loud, but I'm just giving an example, simple example about when you love somebody. Sometimes you go out of your way to give them something they want. And he cooked some good, I think it was salmon, wasn't it?
It was.
Good salmon, man. But the point is, I didn't ask per se. We were just talking. But because he loved me and he wanted to sacrifice his time and go to the store and get it. You see what I mean? That's a good example. That's just a small example. But then it's not small in the sense of, in the scheme of things, because when you keep adding those little gestures over time, that kind of adds up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, to help me to realize, which I already knew, but to help me to realize even more that he loves me, right?
Yeah,
and that's what
you.
I know.
Yeah.
Isn't that cute?
And I got another example as well. One of the examples basically before we got married, I didn't have a television in my bedroom, and I said I would never have a television in my bedroom, because of the fact that I didn't want that in my bedroom, and I just wanted my bedroom to be the sanctuary, so to speak, and I had my television downstairs in the basement. And this was before we got married. We've been married for 18 years now. 18 years. And at some point, after we got married, at some point, we ended up with a television in the bedroom.
He conceded. Just kind of happened.
Yeah, so that means that sometimes you're gonna do things that you wouldn't necessarily think that you would do. Okay, because love can make you do a lot of things that you don't necessarily want to do. But it demonstrates that you're dying to yourself and expressing a passion or concern for someone else or your spouse.
That'll preach. I mean, we're not trying to preach, but I envision even that when you said it like that, that God so loved the world that he gave, right? His only begotten son. I mean, begotten means the only one of his kind. He was the only one of his kind. And he loved us so much that, like he said, he endured for us. And so when you look at the scripture reference again in Ephesians 5, when it talks about, love your wife as Christ loved the church, he loved the church so much that he endured all of that for the church. And the church is you and I, right?
That's
and
right.
so, and husband's supposed to mirror that. Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Yes.
How much love is that towards his spouse, his wife? How much love is she going to be showered with when he really understands the revelation of what that means to sacrifice? And it's not one-sided. Somebody said, well, that means like a man is giving up everything. Well, no, he is the leader. That doesn't mean dominance, but he's the leader of the home, and that's fine. And then the wife is there also to walk alongside him. She's not cowering in the back and shouting in the back. As her role is to walk beside him, to be that support. But as he loves her, his role to love her, and it compels her in the right circumstance, compels the wife to follow her duties, which is to support and to help, and maybe even to bring vision or clarity, depending on the situation, to her husband. I think that it just all works together. Of course, God knew exactly what he meant when he created marriage, right? So we just want to again encourage you to think about your roles as a husband, as a wife, so that, what is the word? Enriching your marriage. The way to enrich your marriage is to do the proper roles, operating the proper roles, so that things can work a little smooth. So when you do have hiccups and difficulties, you still remember, I love him, he loves me. I know what I'm good at. He knows what he's good at. We know what we're not so good at. And then we try to balance all that out. That all has to do with our role, support, and love, right?
Well, you said one thing that seemed like husbands have to give up everything. And I think what we have to give up is minuscule compared to what Christ gave up. Now, he's the one that gave up everything, okay? And so the little things that we do have to give up, okay, it is not that significant overall, because of the fact that we are selfish individuals, first of all. And so we learn how to give of ourselves and to sow into the lives of someone else, because the Bible said, give and it shall be given. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, shall men give unto your bosom. And so as we giving ourselves unto our wives, unto our spouse, then that opens the door for them to give unto us. Give them what they need, and they give us what we need.
That's
Amen.
good. That's good. So we just wanted to drop that nugget. Roles. We'll do that again. We like to drop little, thoughts and ideas, something for you to think about as you start your week or go through your week, depending on when you see this video. So with that being said, we want to make sure you are aware of our new Facebook page. It's Enrich My Marriage, right? So if you just go into your Facebook and transition over from our personal page to Enrich My Marriage, we would greatly appreciate it. Make sure you share Enrich My Marriage on the Facebook with other people who may be in need of information. It's going to be a resource page. You're going to find out information about events coming up, as well as we're going to be launching our new website soon.
Yes.
So make sure you stay abreast on looking at all our social media sites between the Enrich My Marriage. Go to our YouTube channel, which is where this is posted, and make sure you subscribe and send this link to others so they can subscribe. Let's build this community. Subscribe for traditional marriage couples. We want to encourage also our blog, www.enrichingyourmarriageblog.wordpress.com. I need to say it again because my tongue got twisted. www.enrichingmymarriage, right?
Yeah.
Enriching your marriage. Okay, let's do it one more time. www.enrichingyourmarriageblog.wordpress.com. I got it now. Also, don't forget to, check us out on Twitter. Marriage Enrichment, the Bakers at Destiny Arrived. You can tweet us or comment on some of our tweets that we're going to be posting over time. And is there anything else, anywhere else they can catch us, baby? Our upcoming website, saying that again, yeah.
Yes, the upcoming website, yes.
Anywhere else, and then you'll see any events that we'll be doing on any of those social media sites. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So, again, what is it? Think about your roles as a wife.
Think about your role as a husband.
And improve.
And
change,
support one another.
and repent. Like, we make mistakes.
Yes, absolutely.
It's okay to say, I'm sorry.
And it's okay to forgive as well.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
So let's not hold each other in contempt because we make a mistake or we forgot, a conversation that was taking place and you promised that you was going to change, but we're creatures of habits. And so sometimes those habits are hard to break, but please forgive us even as we are still yet growing to be better. How about that?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, again, think about the roles, and we will be talking to you soon. Don't forget any of my social media sites, and we wish you well. We wish you well. So, I'm Charlotte.
And I'm Daryl.
We probably should make a song. I'm Charlotte, you're Daryl. I'm Charlotte. Okay, he's looking at me like, okay, babe. We're the Bakers. Let me stop.
Yes.
And we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Easy peasy.